All right, hi, I'm Joe Cicero, and my talk is going to be DigiMarSec, or Digital Marketing Security. So today I'm going to cover a little bit about the title, a little bit about me, just a small amount, a little bit about how the presentation came to be. I'm going to talk about the red flag concept, and then I'm going to talk about digital marketing practitioners' emails and digital marketing practitioners' domain ownership. All right, so when I first thought about this talk, I thought, all right, I'll name it MarSec. So I ran out, obviously, like an IT person, Google MarSec. And what pops up is the U.S. Coast Guard uses MarSec already for maritime security. So I thought, all right, well, that's not a very good name. Additionally, I looked at a couple other links, and I see here this company in Citon has trademarked MarSec. I thought, all right, I don't know how they get away with that, with the Coast Guard using it, but I don't want to break any trademark, so I probably wouldn't want to use MarSec. Continuing on, I thought, all right, well, I'm going to be talking about digital marketing security. So when I Googled DigiMarSec, there were no hits. And due to the advanced SEO optimization of the CypherCon, if you Google, use DuckDuckGo, put into Yahoo, or put into Bing DigiMarSec, the first hit is this conference talk. So it really works out from a marketing perspective. All right, so for the last 4 years, I've been a senior security engineer. 18 years prior to that, I was an IT security instructor. That's all I'm going to talk about from my background. If you're interested in going into the depths of my background, you can go to joecicero.com, which will redirect you to my LinkedIn page. Or you can snap that QR code, which will bring you to joecicero.com, which will redirect you to my LinkedIn page. The talk is only 25 minutes long. I guess there's nobody after me, so we can go a little bit longer. I don't think we will. I've got it timed out pretty good. It's going to be a machine gun presentation, so I have 30 slides. Rather than putting bullets in a slide and talking about the bullets, every slide is a bullet. That way it's a little bit bigger for you to see, and we can go through it pretty quick. Okay, so 4 years ago, on my first, second, third, fourth day of work, an email comes in. User says the security engineering team should look at this email. Comes to the security engineering team. The subject, it's a Yahoo email address. The subject is urgent reply requested. The body of the email says, I'm sending this on behalf of someone else. Please open up the attachment for the free evening seminar. Like, it's got every flag you could possibly want to say this is a phishing email. Well, after a little bit of examination, we found out, no, it was a legitimate email. And a coworker and I coined the term stupid legit. I was like, this is just awful. But I started with a marketing degree, and I looked at the marketing perspective of that, and I said, boy, these people that are doing this, they really don't know all of these things. So I started looking into resources that I could give my marketing department or other marketing departments, all these things that they shouldn't do from an IT security practitioner's perspective. And there was nothing out there. So what you're going to see today is a culmination of all that information that I said time after time after time, right? This is a real mistake that these organizations are making, and if they wouldn't make this mistake, they wouldn't have friction. So, red flag concept. If you're an IT security practitioner, you should be familiar with the red flag concept. The red flag concept is when something is amiss, something's wrong, it's a red flag. Now, any normal email or any normal website can have a red flag. One may not be enough for you to say, I'm not going to block this. But you start getting more and more red flags, and you start saying, all right, something is terribly wrong with this. Now, I want you to think about the environment we're currently in from an IT security practitioner's perspective. We've got a war going on with Russia and Ukraine. We've got tensions with China. We've got Korea. We've got hacking organizations that have taken over. I'm in healthcare. Right? 6 months ago, 24 hospitals falling for healthcare related phishing emails. We're on edge. So one red flag from an IT security practitioner's standpoint might be enough to block the marketing practitioner's email or the marketing practitioner's website. So keep that in mind as we go through these slides. All right, so every slide, I'm going to get into the presentation now, and every slide is going to be broken up into 3 sections. The top section is what I'm going to be talking about. The section on the right is going to be a screenshot of a website that had data that's backing up what I say. So you don't have to say, well, Joe Cicero said this. You can say he provided me with all of the criteria on why he was making these decisions. Down at the bottom is going to be the URL that will allow you to go to see that web page. So you can say, all right, it's 20 years old. Why am I looking at this? Or yeah, all right, this was from 2021 and it's recent. All right, so let's start the presentation off. URL shorteners. What is a URL shortener? For those of you who don't know, a URL shortener takes a very long URL and shortens it down to something that's memorable that you can type. Why would a marketing practitioner want to use a URL shortener? Well, it's more memorable and easy to type. Why would a bad guy or a malicious actor want to use a URL shortener? Because there's high-risk URL shorteners there on the right-hand side. Because when that email comes into the user, it now doesn't show the actual domain that you're going to. It's going to go to the URL shortener, which is going to redirect to some other website. You'll notice number 1 and number 7 there, bit.ly and tinyurl.com are used a lot. Well, my response to this is, why are marketing practitioners using URL shorteners? When was the last time you got an email with a URL shortened URL and then called someone up and said, let me read you the URL, right? The purpose of these is done. We don't do that. You got it in an email. You've got a link to click. Click the link. And you don't use the URL shortener. Besides, if size matters, the long URL is better. All right, tracking images. What are tracking images? So marketers have learned that you can take a 1x1 pixel image and you can put it into an HTML-based email. And when the user opens up that email, you now know the user opened up that email. Why does the malicious actor like that? Exactly the same reason. My email got through all of the security mechanisms it needed to get to the user. Now, why is all this data meaningless? Well, if you are running a secure email gateway, it may have already visited that link, that pixel, making the marketing practitioner believe that the email has been opened when it has not. The email might be going through a sandbox. So the sandbox visits all those links, and so the marketing practitioner who gets the information back, oh, someone opened my email. No, nobody opened your email. That was a security mechanism that was visiting that link, and so no one did go to it. And then the third reason is, if a user is not viewing images in the email, they viewed your email, but you don't get alerted to it. So the value of a tracking image is very small. It's a red flag for the IT security practitioner. So when you use it, we're looking at it and saying, is this legit or not? All right, so for all those reasons, I would recommend to marketing practitioners, stop using the tracking pixel or tracking image. All right, what's a tracking link? A tracking link allows a marketing practitioner to, they provide you a link, you get the email, that link goes out to one website that keeps track of everything. What browser were you using, what user agent were you using in email, what time did this happen, all of the data that marketers love to get, and then it sends you off to the website. What do the bad guys do? Well, they send you links, and I've seen them go through 8 other links. So they'll send you a link. That link is a legitimate site. It might be a Google Drive, it might be app.com, some Microsoft website, and that site redirects you off to a credential harvesting site or a malicious website. So the bad guys are doing exactly the same thing. That's why the marketing practitioner doesn't want to do this, because for all the reasons I talked about in the previous slide, this isn't going to necessarily work for you. You're not going to get data back from the tracking link. I have a few users that get marketing materials every week. And every week they're blocked. And if I have time, which I don't have a lot of, I want you to think about IT teams, right? I might have the time to go say, all right, well, I'll review that and then I'll send it to the person so that they can get to that. Otherwise, they have to go, it gets blocked, they have to create a ticket. That's making a phone call to the service desk, going through all that process. That ticket has to come to me. Do you see all the friction here? Like, the marketing person wanted to get you somewhere, and you're never going to get there. So that's another reason you want to stay away from the tracking links. All right, this one I don't understand fully. Why would you get a blank email with an attachment? But it happens with marketing material. A blank email comes in, and the typical user is going to, that's had appropriate training, is going to say, I'm not supposed to do this. I got a blank email. I have to submit that to the IT security team. The security engineers have to take a look at that. So then it comes to us, and we have to go through a review. And again, this is how much time and friction is this causing that marketing material to get to you if it's coming through the IT security department team. Why might this happen? There are a few reasons why it happens legitimately. One is multifunction scanners, where you scan a document and you send to email. All right, that doesn't provide any body to the email. So someone gets an email, they don't know why, it was a scanned document. Another might be a phone, text to email. So somebody's using their phone, they're sending an email, they send it off to somebody at a corporation that's looking at things. It comes with an attachment but no body in the email. We get those all the time where we have to do an investigation. If you look at the right side of your screen, you'll see KnowBe4 has done some research where blank emails often come before business email compromise attacks. So if you're doing this as the marketing practitioner, understand that the IT security guy is going to look and say, I don't know if I want to allow this, creating a lot of friction. Okay, CAN spam requirements. What are the CAN spam requirements? So years and years ago, the US government came up with legal requirements for unsolicited marketing materials. If your email does not meet these requirements, it's categorized as spam. Now, if you listen closely to what I said earlier, it was unsolicited marketing materials. But how many of you have gotten an email from somebody and forgot you requested it? That happens all the time. So if you're a marketing practitioner and you say, well, I don't have to adhere to this because I can just send the email out to these people because they checked the box on a website that said, yeah, I want the marketing materials, and it comes in and one user submits it to the IT security team, and the security team reviews the email and says, there's no conspicuous or straightforward way to unsubscribe, therefore this email is categorized as spam, then the IT security practitioner blocks it for the entire organization. So even if you had a legitimate email that you were sending to somebody who requested it, if they forgot that they requested it and it does not meet these requirements, your emails will now be blocked for the entire organization. Potentially, depends upon their policies. My organization, you're going to get blocked for the whole organization. That's a whole lot of friction for the marketing department. So you should be aware of the CAN Spam Act requirements, and my recommendation is no matter what you're sending, and I'm starting to see people do this, you have the requirements in the email. Even if the user requested it, you put that in because you don't want to be blocked for the entire organization. All right, let's get into domains. Free and cheap domains, top-level domains, are friction. They're a red flag for me. In some organizations, a lot of these free domains are just going to be blocked. And I'm amazed that I see marketers using the free nom domains, the TK, ML, GA, CF domains. Additionally, things like info and XYZ that cost the marketer $5 instead of a .com that cost them $15, right? Those are red flags for me. They're cheap and they're used by the bad guys all the time. And I'll look at it in this environment, I'll say, I don't even know if I want to go there. I don't even know if I have time to research it. All right, so you should be aware that cheap and free domains are a mistake from the marketing practitioner's standpoint. So here's my freenom interface, and I thought, oh, ML is a lot like MIL. So I went out and I registered United States Marines.ml. Has anybody got guts enough to go to that QR? No one? All right, I got a free. Is it working? Is it redirecting you? No, it's not. No, that's because it's a free service. Why would I expect a free service to work? Good catch. All right, if you want to see one work, you can go to DigiMarSec.ml, and that one will actually work. But something's going on the Freenom site that they won't let you take. Because I used to. Well, I originally had United States Marines.ml, United States Navy.ml, and I took them all. I was like, oh, they're all there, they're all free. I'm going to suck them all up, and I'm going to redirect them to my LinkedIn page. And they locked me out of my account. All right, so something else you should know from a marketing perspective side, right? Free and cheap resellers are a huge mistake. So you'll look on the right-hand side. This is something I would expect the marketing department to do. We're going to register a domain. If you're not dealing with the IT department to do this, go out and find out which ones are used by bad people the most, and don't use those. So if you see here, there's a list on the right-hand side, that's probably top 10 malicious domain registrars. The one that I run into the most is Namecheap. So right in the middle, that was a different website. A different website provided me, oh yeah, Namecheap is a bad one. Sure, you got a cheaper domain, but you have to understand that's going to cost you from the perspective of getting that domain through the IT security department. To look at that in use, here you'll see MorganStanley.com, legitimate domain. Registered spoof / lookalike domain, MorganStanley.com. I can't even say it, right? T and the S reversed, and where was that registered? Namecheap. And on a regular basis, when I'm reviewing websites or doing my IT security work, I'm seeing Namecheap and other cheap, free resellers being used. And I'm telling you, from a IT security standpoint to the marketing practitioner, that is a mistake. Pay the extra $10. All right, pre-owned domains. This is something that the marketing practitioner may not even think about. Pre-owned domains can be a red flag. So you're out looking for a domain, all those domain registrars say, just type your domain here and we'll tell you whether we have it. And if they don't, a lot of times they'll say, hey, guess what? You can buy that one. So I'm in healthcare. I'm not with Prevea, but Preveal was very close to Prevea. So I wonder what how much Preveal costs. That's going to cost you $10,000. What might that domain have been categorized as previously? Well, if you look here, you've got malicious website, shopping, advertising, and back to phishing. So think about that. You purchase a pre-owned domain. The marketing practitioner may not even realize that. You don't check, hey, what has this site been categorized as previously by the web filtering software that's out there, and all of a sudden you buy a domain that's been categorized as phishing or malware. Is the IT security practitioner going to let that through? Probably not. You're done. You're done in the woods. So think about that if you're considering buying a pre-owned domain. It might be already categorized as something which would cause friction. All right, 10 years ago I would have changed my answer on this, but now that I'm on the blue team, things change. So who is data? For those of you that don't know who is data is, when you purchase a domain, you can register it under your name, or you can check a box that says, hide all my data. And 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I would have said, oh no, you check that box. You don't want any of that out there. Well, on the blue team side, I want to see a corporate entity that owns a domain. Now, why does that happen? You have a primary domain, and then you have somebody from marketing that's going to buy up a bunch of other domains, except they don't register them with the same company. So they have a different registrar, or they put different data in there, and now I have a hard time understanding whether or not is this really owned by this company or not. So you want to be consistent with purchasing these things, and it's a best practice for you to have your domain registrar information go to a corporate entity. All right, this is another thing that I would not expect a marketing practitioner to know. Newly registered and newly observed domains, by best practice, are blocked. So you're thinking about doing this marketing campaign. Ooh, let's go out and buy a domain. And I've seen examples where employees buy the domain, another department buys the domain. They don't think about any of these things, and then they just redirect it where they want to redirect it. And I've seen malicious actors do the same thing. So they do that, and now all of that work that they've done goes nowhere because that domain is newly registered or newly observed, and it's blocked. In my organization, we would pick up on that right away, right? It would be a blocked website. What is this? It's a spoof lookalike. Now I have to make phone calls to find out, where did this come from? Who owns this? What is going on here? So the other organizations, that's not going to happen, right? In my organization, that's easy. I'm dealing with my people. But if your organization has done that, I'm going to look at that website and say, no, this is not right. Something's wrong here. And again, you have the friction that you don't want as the marketing practitioner. Okay, hosting companies. Now I'm getting a little picky here, but the hosting company you use, where you put the website, what server you put the website on, that company may be a red flag. There is, if you look off to the right, there is the top 10 malicious hosting companies. So another thing the marketing practitioner wants to do is say, where are we hosting this? And is this website one of those that, or is this hosting provider one on this list? Or are they on a list anywhere? It would be advantageous to not use hosting domains that would be categorized by the IT security practitioner as a red flag. Okay, hosting IP. This is a biggie. So if you're going to communicate, you're going to do hosting, you've decided on a hosting company, one of the questions that you absolutely want to ask them is, what is your IP space? Because you can be blocked, the IT security practitioner can block a website based upon domain name and based upon IP address. And the software we use may do that, right? It may be that I haven't purposefully done that, but some product I'm using says, malicious IP, I'm going to block that, or malicious domain, I'm going to block that. Two different things. If you go purchase a website and they put you on the same IP address with hundreds of other malicious sites, what are the odds that the IT security practitioner is going to say, yeah, I'll go ahead and open that up? It's there with 100 other malicious sites, and I have seen that. I have seen where we have one legitimate site, and there's 1,000 websites on this same IP address, and hundreds of them were registered by somebody that was malicious and they have malware on them. There's no way I'm opening up your site to that. That's the friction you have to worry about. So, domain hosting IP. New as of a month ago. So we got an alert, I think it was a CISA alert, that CISA.gov saying, you know what, due to current environments in Russia and Ukraine, you may want to geo-block these countries. So while you probably are not hosting a website in Ukraine and Russia, unless you're Ukrainian or Russian, you're probably not a US company doing that. You might be hosting it overseas somewhere, and an organization in the United States has said, you know what, we're so afraid of this that we're going to geofence to United States-based IPs or US and Canada-based IPs. So it's another consideration as a marketing practitioner you have to say, okay, I don't think I want to, I think this hosting company is in the US, we're going to deal with US-based hosting companies and IPs. All right, the CMS, this is getting really picky, but I have a story. We don't remember these presentations, we remember the stories in the presentation. So the CMS, the content management system that you decide to use for your marketing website can be a red flag. I had an organization, or I had a user contact me, this website is blocked. I take a look at the website, I'm like, all right, let's go over to VirusTotal. Oh yeah, VirusTotal's got 4 or 5 things that are saying it was a bad website. A little more research, and I find the exact links that had the malware on them. Testing those links, they don't exist anymore. They've been cleaned up, they're gone. However, the website is a WordPress site. It was probably a hacked WordPress site when one of the vulnerabilities for WordPress came out, but last week, a new WordPress vulnerability came out. What are the odds they're not patched for that one? Like, that's up there. So what do I do as the IT security practitioner? Do I gamble and say, oh, it's probably clean? I'll get fired, right? So the marketing person has to understand that if you're going to have a website and it's going to be Drupal or WordPress or whatever, that website has to stay up to date and it cannot get hacked, because the minute it gets hacked, you're going to start being on a list, and when you're on a list for me, I can't risk it. So think about those things when you're deciding on what CMS you want to use. All right, HTTPS TLS certificates. So Let's Encrypt was a good idea from a privacy perspective, but from a blue team guy, not so much as a security perspective. When I see a Let's Encrypt certificate, I naturally think, I don't know, it's a red flag. Now, I know it might not be a red flag that stops you cold, but that combined with other red flags, your website may not be getting unblocked. In a little bit, I'm going to talk about, actually, it's this next slide. So, HTTPS redirection. So, I've run into organizations, if you want to do something cool, go to dnstwister.report and put in the domain Bank of America. What dnstwister.report will do is show you all of the iterations, all of the spoofed / lookalike domains for Bank of America, and it'll tell you whether or not email has been registered for that domain and whether or not that domain is up and running. So, does it even exist, right? It can twist it, see is there something out there with that name, and show you that. So HTTPS redirection. If you buy a vanity domain, and a lot of companies will do this. Oh, we'll just buy that domain. Junk.healthcare. I'll buy junk.healthcare. And I'll redirect it. I'll only buy it for this little reason, and then I'll redirect it back to my website. Well, that redirection may not be in a secure manner. If somebody goes to junk.healthcare, that's going to be via port 80, and then it's going to redirect to your secure website. That's called, am I in the right place? Insecure? Yeah, insecure. That's called insecure redirection. So it will not redirect in a secure manner. What then happens is you get your cybersecurity score reduced. For those of you not familiar, there's two companies out there that are primary companies. One's BitSite, the other Security Scorecard. For your organization, they will keep your security score. Well, that security score can be used by your cyber insurance to decide how much you're going to pay this year. And cyber insurance this year, for many organizations, has increased 50 to 500%. So the marketing department does something that's going to cost the organization a lot of money. Think about that HTTPS redirection. I have a slide and two more slides that's going to cover a lot of settings that you have to think about. All right, website contents. Another thing I want the marketing practitioners to know is that before you set up the website, you should go and review scam site red flags. One of our red flags, if we go to a website, is the contact page using a free email service. And I can't believe how many are, right? You go to the domain, and then you click on the contact page, and it's a Gmail account or a Yahoo account. Like, that's a huge red flag. Is this site legit or not? And we're trying to do things at the speed of light, right? We need to get this fixed so that we get on to the next issue. So I highly recommend, if you're setting up a marketing website, that you are aware of what the scam sites use as documentation for whether or not you would be considered a scam site. Free email services, the contact is one of the huge ones. All right, so these are some of the settings. If I don't expect you to see them and read them, and I'm not going to go through them all. I only have so much time. But that BitSite and Security Scorecard, these are the settings that they will keep track of. That will some of them that will lower your score and cost your organization more money from a IT cyber insurance perspective. So the marketing department should be aware of that and work with the IT security department to make sure that you're getting the best grade that you can get from these companies. Okay, releasing a domain. I think this is one of my last slides. So, if you buy up these domains, these vanity domains, and you create all kinds of links that go back to them, people create favorites on them, and this campaign is working great, and then the campaign ends, and you release the domain. The domain can be picked up by a malicious actor for multiple purposes. One is, if you had email to that domain, they will be picking up any emails, because now it's going to them. And the second is, they can redirect anybody going to those domains to malicious sites. So, my recommendation is don't redirect the domain back to your primary domain. Redirect it to a part domain for several years. Yeah, it's going to cost you $15 a year or whatever it costs to keep a domain for another couple of years. But your brand is not now going to be used against you or against your clientele, or against somebody who Googles something, sees your brand and a link, clicks on it, and now ends up on a malicious web page. So I highly recommend the domains you own, you develop a process that will enable you to decommission that domain. Redirect it to a domain parked page. It is a best practice to block domain parked pages. Leave it there for a couple of years, get all the web filtering software packages, now categorizing it as domain parked, and then you're good. All right, I want to thank you for attending my talk. I really appreciate it. Nice audience out there, and I want to thank Michael Getzman and CypherCon for having me. Any questions?
We hate marketers. Why are you telling them this?
They gotta learn. All right, thanks everybody.